Hey, welcome back. If this is your first time here, my name is Harry, and I'd just like to share my art. Today we're going to be working on a little bit of wood carving. I'll introduce you to my shop, and in the future, I have a bunch of hobbies. I'm ADHD, so I have to keep jumping from one activity to another. Sometime in the future, we'll be doing some painting and some drawing, maybe some bread making. When the weather improves, I live in the Pacific Northwest, so that means when it stops raining, if we get some dry days, we'll go out and do some hiking and camping, maybe go look at some waterfalls, maybe a little gold prospecting. There's a lot of that up in this area. But yesterday, I took a test for a commercial drone pilot license, and I'm going to be including some drone footage in some of my outdoor scenery shots. The reason I got the commercial drone pilot's license is not to make money off of it, although that opportunity is always there. I don't want another career. I'm retired. I'm living comfortably on my retirement income. But with a commercial drone pilot's license, I have so much more opportunity to do things like actually post videos, make videos specifically for YouTube. If I would just stick with a recreational pilot's license, I can't do that. The FAA is pretty strict on that stuff. So anyway, we'll move along. We'll do some carving. All right, so let's do a quick tour of my little carving studio here. This is in my living room. And one of the nice things about not being married or living with anybody else is that I can do whatever I want. I don't have to have a dedicated room to do my art in. All right, so this is a little wood carving bench. Underneath I've got some clamps and a power drill and a few hand tools. I don't have room for power tools, and that would make saws and stuff like that would just make a huge mess in here. So I keep it to hand tools. Some of the things that I've carved in the past or am currently working on. This was from a class that I took out in North Plains at the Heritage Art Studio run by Kelly Stadelman. And occasionally, because I don't have power tools, I have to rely on what I can either cut out by hand, or I'll occasionally buy rough outs from people who will remove the rough it out, give me just a basic shape, and then I can just carve it. It's like, this is something I started and I had to cut out by hand just by using blocks of wood. This is a cottonwood bark carving that I started years ago. Well, I actually finished it too, but the horns fell off the buffalo hat here, so I have to glue those back on. But cottonwood bark is hard to work with because it likes to flake off and split. Some of the other things I've started. Here's a rolling pin Santa. This is a basswood. It's not a hard rolling pin. It's for decorative carving. And here's a plaque. I don't know if you can read it. It says, "As for me, I know of nothing else but miracles," by Walt Whitman. And there's a couple of gifts from Ayla and Marlowe, wood burning. There's a couple of my mallets and a small assortment of my tools, palm chisels. This is a spoke shave. I use that for shaping down this guy here. You probably saw me in the last video. In this drawer I've got sandpaper, some measuring tools, screwdrivers, just a few hand tools and stuff. In this drawer I've got my small sharpening stones. There's a large sharpening stone in here. I got leather strops that I use for. This is just an old belt that I put on a piece of wood that I cut out. So I like to sharpen my tools and then strop them to remove that little burr on the edge. And in this drawer, I've got all my carving tools, a little coping saw. But over the years, I've collected a lot of carving tools. A lot of them I don't use anymore, but they're there if I need them. This one I bought when I was working on carousel horses down in Corvallis. But you can see the mallet tools, the palm tools, quite an assortment. I still don't have everything I need, and the people that work with tools never have all the tools they need. Here's a few more of the carvings I made. These are all done with pocket knife. This angel, and one of the wise men, Mary, Joseph, the baby Jesus, the nativity set that I made. There's more figures, but I never completed them. This little guy here, him and his brothers helped me and the kids survive. I was a single parent, just retired from the Navy, living up in Oak Harbor, Washington. I was going to school full time. And I needed some extra money to help feed the kids. So I carved up a bunch of these little guys and went around town and sold them for a few bucks a piece. All carved with a pocket knife. This leather purse, back in the late 60s, early 70s, somewhere around that time frame, it's got my mother's name on it. I made this for my mother. Occasionally I'll get out my leather working tools and make a few things. The spoon, also I gave to my mother. This little cottonwood bark Santa Claus, I think I also gave that to my mother. Passed some years ago. So today I'm going to be working on this little Santa Claus. He's probably going to be a tree hanger ornament. He's going to have a little beard that spirals around, and he's made out of basswood. Basswood's one of my favorite woods to work with, but there's other woods I'll use. I'm going to be using today a V tool. I don't know where I got it, but it's one of my favorite tools. And then this gouge, again, I don't know where I got it, but it's been one of my main tools for hand tools. And this pocket knife, I know where I bought this pocket knife. It was in Glenview, Illinois, when I was stationed there in the Navy. I was a radio operator on patrol planes, and I'd often take it with me and do some little whittling on long flights. But it's a buck, and it's a carbon steel blade. I've tried stainless steel blades, but they're so hard to sharpen. This one, it keeps an edge. It sharpens easily, and usually all I have to do is just touch it up on the leather strop. So let's see if I can get you positioned here so you can swatch. But basically I'm just going to, let's see, I need to bring out his hair a little bit, so let's use this. Use this V tool. And I have to work in my lap because this thing is awkward and there's no way to strap it down for working on this kind of stuff. So, and real careful. I've almost cut this finger off before with a power chisel. So, safety first. I got started whittling when I was a kid back in the 60s. Picked up an old knife. Didn't even know how to sharpen it. Don't even know if it was sharp, but I know I cut myself a lot because it would slip, so it probably wasn't sharp at all. And that's, you got to sharpen your tools. You got to keep them sharp. They're safer than dull tools. Okay, so let's define that a little bit. Actually, I'm going to put on a Carvin glove. This is a Kevlar glove. It's saved my fingers many a time. I mean, you can still poke with the edge into it, but if you hit it right on, then it'll prevent you from getting cut. So this is going to be a little more tricky to hold. So there's always a possibility of slipping here. Back in the 60s, I was in the Boy Scouts. And living in LeClaire, Iowa, which just happened to be the birthplace of Buffalo Bill. He left there when he was 10 years old, and I moved there when I was about 10 years old. So I ran around the same streets as old Buffalo Bill did when he was a kid, getting into trouble. Watching steamboats. We actually had an old steamboat, the Lone Star. It would run up and down the river every summer, and it was one of the highlights of my day. You hear it chugging and hissing coming up the river. Okay, so I had to stop that last recording because the lawn care people showed up with their leaf blowers and started making a noise, and it was distracting me. And so anyway, I've also repositioned the camera a little bit. Maybe it'll make it a little easier to see what I'm doing. But the old Lone Star sitting up on the bank, it was rotting away. They decided to start a fund to build a building to put it in an environmentally controlled room. And they finally did it. I'm glad they were able to stop its further rot. But I'm planning on going back to LeClaire this summer. It's about 2,000 miles away from where I live. And I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I'm going to go on a river cruise, an hour and a half, just for old times, I guess. It's the boat that's running now isn't a steamboat. It's a diesel-powered boat, and it doesn't have a paddle wheel, but it's called the Twilight. And it's fun. My family has a connection to the steamboat company. So anyway, so I've got some starting to define his lower lip and cutting his hair in. I'm not the cleanest carver. Basswood isn't the cleanest. You have to spend a lot of time cleaning it up. So I'm going to stop this for a while and do some carving, and then I'll come back. So I got my first spiral cut in. It's going to have to go a lot deeper than that, but I'm just laying it out right now. So I had to take my glove off because it's the Kevlar. It's too slippery to hang on to this little thing, so I just have to be extra careful, I guess. So I'll do a few more of this, and then we'll probably call it a day because my hands can't take this so much anymore, so I could just have to do it in little chunks at a time. But Yeah, LeClaire is right on the Mississippi River in eastern Iowa. Sometimes I felt like I was Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn, because we get up in the morning, watch the steamboat run up the river, and go down and either go fishing or ride our bikes out into the country. And don't tell anybody, but we used to run through the cornfields. Sure, the farmers don't appreciate that. Even got chased off by a bull one time when I tried to cross a pasture. But there was a bait shop in town, and when he needed worms, he'd let the kids know, and on a rainy night, we'd go up to the cemetery and pick night crawlers. And the old cemetery from back in the 1800s, it was a spooky place in the dark when you were a kid. Would let our imaginations run wild with us, and pretty soon we'd be hightailing it out of there because we thought a ghost was chasing us or something. We'd hear strange noises and couldn't figure out what it was, and it had to be ghosts. Anyway, yeah, see, it's gonna have to go a lot deeper because I need to round these down into the grooves to give them some dimension. But it's getting there. All right, well, I think that's about all I'm gonna do for today. Gotta give my hands a break. I'll be working a little bit more on it, so the next time you see it, I should be getting close to rounding these down into the grooves. Y'all have a good day. All right, well, thanks for stopping by. Come on back sometime, and you can really help this grumpy old guy out by hitting that like button and subscribing for me. Now get off of my lawn. Until next time, see you later.